holds the note. In fact, I looked at the note yesterday. We have it in our possession in the safe, so
You have the original?
we have the original with lodged that note, so I verified that. So.
Well, that's a lie. Sean Masterson, I watched you about 8 years ago tell that lie. You didn't have shit in your desk except a box of chocolates. I have been intimately involved in mortgages for 15 years now, ever since I started and ran a title company. Wells Fargo, Specialized Loan Services, Ocwen, and Northwest Trustee Services, well, now bankrupted, I believe, are the sleaziest entities I've ever witnessed. And if you should happen to have 2 or more of them on any one particular case as a homeowner, you are definitely in for a hell ride. I'll say that much. Let's watch this.
You have reached the office of David Spillman. He's away from his office right now, but if you'd like to leave your name and telephone number and the time and date you called, he'll return your call as soon as possible. If you'd like to speak with reception, please press 0 for an operation, and thank you for calling. Goodbye. Please leave a message at the tone. When finished, you may hang up or press pound for additional options.
Dear Attorney Spellman, this is Christopher King. I am a former title insurance producer and manager of a title company, and as you know, I operate Mortgage Movies Journal. I'm calling you today. I'm actually in New York at my mother's bereavement ceremonies, but an important case has come up, and I've written you about it on the 26th, the 28th, and yesterday, the 29th of November 2018, regarding the Velasco family and the history of Wells Fargo with respect thereto. As you may know, and as I sent you, I have a number of cases in which I have resolved homeowner differences with Wells Fargo after I have reviewed what I perceive to be outright fraudulent conduct on the part of your client, Wells Fargo. So at this point, I have to assume that you don't want to talk to me, and that's your prerogative. I'm just making this recorded call to document the record, and I'll see you at court. Thank you very much. And of course, I'm amenable to taking a statement from you at court because that's what I do. I'm a professional and I give everybody an opportunity to respond. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you and have a good weekend. So, we're here with King Cast and Mortgage Movies, and today we have another American consumer and homeowner who's being ripped off on the phone. Could you identify yourself, sir?
Yeah, this is Mark Velasco.
And Mr. Velasco, I believe you have a house in conjunction with your partner or wife. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I actually purchased this home in 2007.
I see. And I understand at some point you have been on the receiving end of 3 or 4 attempted foreclosures. I think you're somewhere in your 4th attempted foreclosure by Wells Fargo. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's the 4th foreclosure. This one was initiated back in 2016, so I've actually been fighting them for 10 years now.
I see. Now, you know that I used to run a title company, and I've had experience doing that and also working in the mediation program here in Washington State with HAMP. And, you know, I help people settle second mortgages, and I make mortgage movies, of course, about the ongoing fraudulent conduct of the banks and other mortgage industry juggernauts. How did you come to find out about me?
Well, actually, I think after my first or second attempted foreclosure by Wells Fargo, I had been doing a lot of research and connecting with other homeowners online, and a few years back, I ran across some of your actual mortgage movies. I know you were doing some work up there in King County, which later you did the work with Marie McDonald on all those corrupt land records. I think the audit that happened up there in King County, and came across your name, and I think that's when you and I finally connected.
Indeed.
The violations of the law that we discovered, the banks and the mortgage servicing companies and the trustees they hire to record these documents are essentially breaking the law, violating that statute.
So there's also, this is a legal, a moral, and ethical, and financial incentives for the city to do the right thing, and for the county to do the right thing.
Well, it is.
This homeless issue could be alleviated if you had sued MERS, and you won't even tell me why you haven't done it.
Thank you, sir.
Indeed. And so, now in your specific case, I believe your trouble started after Wells Fargo encouraged you to miss 90 days of payments because of a flood. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, Washington State was impacted by massive flooding, specifically Lewis County where I live. And all I did was get a letter from Wells Fargo letting us know that there was some assistance for disaster victims. I picked up the phone, I called the number on my statement, and told them we were having some issues due to the flood. If you recall back then, I-5, the main corridor, was 10 feet underwater, and it stopped all commerce, and many properties were impacted. But lo and behold, Wells Fargo offered us a little bit of assistance by telling us that there was a moratorium for the next 90 days. And we thought that was going to be so helpful, but little did I know, this 90 days is some sort of trigger that goes down a path that none of us have been able to, well, a number of us haven't been able to defeat. But it is a trigger for something, and I know you're very familiar with that.
So basically what happened to you is similar to what happened to a lot of homeowners who were trying to get a HAMP loan or a HAMP modification, in which the banks or lending institutions tell you to miss 90 days of payments and that they will help you, but then the next thing you know, it's a bait and switch, and then they try to foreclose on you with documents that they manufacture.
That's exactly what happened. 90 days, and then they told us that we can go into that modification process, which we started, and while we were in some sort of 90-day payment plan to pre-qualify for a modification, they initiated the very first foreclosure on us, and that's where our nightmare began.
And yeah, that is now dual tracking. That's known as dual tracking now, and at least when the CFPB was around before it was gutted by our current president, number 45, there were allegedly some protections, for homeowners against unlawful dual tracking, but that seems to have gone out the window because the courts let them get away with too much now. Nothing new there. So I understand further that the securitization of your so-called loan has been questioned as well by Marie McDonald, in the sense that, Marie McDonald, for those of you who don't know, she was the expert witness in a $5.4 million trial in Texas against Wells Fargo, a jury trial, in the, what was the name of that case again?
Oh, I believe that was the Wolf case.
Wolf, yeah, that's right. And so Marie, Ms. McDonald, had been hired by the city of Seattle to conduct an audit or a review of King County records here, and she encouraged basically the county to go ahead and sue MERS for transferring title without property and manufactured documents and all of that, and for the violations of the law. Many other counties, of course, throughout the country, but also right next door in Oregon, have sued MERS, and some of them successfully. There are others pending, but Seattle City Council wouldn't even let her, produce her report or talk about her report. And so I leaked the report. And around the same time, that's when you were starting to work with Marie, or just about to. And then she did her report, and now you're kind of in, what would I call it, like a stalemate with the banks? What's going on with your case?
So we are defending our home against that fourth foreclosure that was filed in 2016, and Wells Fargo has filed a motion for summary judgment, actually a couple of those, against us. And what's really interesting about my case is that was actually Marie McDonald that brought it up, because I had done a statement or an affidavit, and I talked about our property and the fact that we lived on a farm, and they were trying to non-judicially foreclose it. She says, well, you live on a farm, they can't do that. And she actually put those documents together and brought some case law on that. And for the past 2 years, I'm trying to prove to the bank that my wife and I live on a farm, and we've been farming since we've owned this property. And they beg to differ on that, even though I sent them pictures of cows and pigs and, my tax statements. I mean, the list goes on. But
right, and they're hopping on some statements you've made that they're taking out of context to say that there's not farming going on within the context or within the definition of what a farm is under the Washington statute.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I also think that the last thing I wanted to get the listeners out here to know or to realize is that I think the alleged pool, the trust pool that they're citing to, doesn't even exist.
That's actually correct. I mean, 10 years ago, I knew nothing about, mortgage-backed securities and insurance that goes along with this and all these triggers, and obviously there's been movies and books written about it, but here I am 10 years later. I've learned about these things, and what I had uncovered is, these trusts are supposedly registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, and mine was apparently incorporated in the state of Delaware, but I contacted the Secretary of State over there and filed some paperwork and paid for some documents for them to do some research, and I got a stamped certificate from the Secretary of State of Delaware saying that the trust does not and has never statutorily existed in the state of Delaware, but yet Wells Fargo has all the documents on this trust saying incorporated in the state of Delaware. So kind of an interesting fact there.
Yeah, they manufacture documents to provide the appearance of standing to foreclose all the time.
Chris, and the fact of the matter is, my wife and I did not intentionally default. We called Wells Fargo because they offered us assistance. They offered us 90 days of no payments. We didn't sign any documents. It was just a simple phone call. And then here we are 10 years later, basically filing defending against a foreclosure. I mean, 4 foreclosures on our property. And it's been a nightmare. My health has been at risk. I almost passed away a few years ago. I think a lot of it has to do with the stress. But what really concerns me is how many other victims are out there that are victims of, a flood or a natural disaster where not only Wells Fargo, but other banks offer them some sort of assistance. But there it is, 90 days, and it's always this 90 days trigger.
That's
and,
right.
That really concerns me, how many other people are in our situation and are trying to defend their homes or have already lost their homes because they didn't have the ability to fight like we have.
Yeah. Well, the answer to your question is countless.
Well, I really appreciate the work you're doing, Chris, and keep what you're doing and keep exposing what is going on here in America right behind everyone's noses.
Right in front.
Right in front of our, right in front of our.
That's right.
That's
That's right.